10th of Feb 2025. Suddenly, seems like I blinked and Christmas has gone and disappeared. I was hoping to come up and start here earlier. But anyway, this is the cant for this year. I might wind up doing half of it depending on how much time I can put in. So this is the view. That's last year's cant with a dead hedge. What we'll do is start felling, and I might put in a dead hedge along the top and then come down here. Right, that's made a start for 2024-25 winter. As I said, started a bit late, and this is product, so 5 foot lengths is what I use. Traditionally for cordwood it would be 4 foot lengths, but I find 5 foot, and it's this size, easy to handle. And I'll make myself a cord on the edge of the wood here. At the end of the season I'll take it out there when it's been stood in the wood for all spring and all summer, so that's 2 seasons, so that's enough seasoning for this size of stuff. And then before summer's end, before the weather breaks, I'll take it home, log it up, just cut into length, won't bother splitting this. But this, you see I've striped it all the way along. You just run the chainsaw along, working backwards, and that breaks the seal of the bark and speeds seasoning. I've started on the dead hedge. This I'll probably move again and turn into Dorset gate. This will be my extraction route down through here, down out of that gate. You see the red van is. I just got up here. It's got very little in the way of traction, being 2-wheel drive, rear wheel drive, even though it's on mud and snow tyres. And this is where the dead hedge is going. It's going to go up through that obvious gap and finish on that rise and go all along the top. So this cant's going to be slightly triangular. Next year's will be a long rectangle with this tree in the middle. Big old thing that's on its last legs. And we'll leave this tree as a successor. These are both sweet chestnuts, and that one, another sweet chestnut over there, we'll have down and out of the way, so that these two don't compete. That one's leaning, and this is a slightly better tree. This one, no timber value in that. It'll be swine to log up for hardwood, for firewood. But even though it's a sweet chestnut, which is a non-native, neither of them the British chestnuts as we grow up with, the native. Sweet chestnut was brought in by the Romans for timber, which is naturally durable, and also for the nuts. And you can see where this is going, and you can see how I build a dead hedge. Dead stuff and the big stuff goes on the bottom. Plonk that in first. So stuff that's no good for me for firewood. All this will go in there because I want my way clear to work the cant without falling on my arse and potentially breaking me poor old bones. So even though this is rotten, I'll actually move it. It'll stay there in contact with the ground. Hopefully things like this ear fungus will carry on doing what they're doing. And basically we're starting at this end. Make a big ugly wadger brush, so it'll be higher and wider than that. Then everything is laid off the top of that. So the butt end is down and the top end is up, and it all lays in this direction. And the back end of one, the butt end, is upslope, because this is all uphill, but the butt end of the other. And then when you've got your main length up to about 6 foot high, you plonk some other bits in, more of a vertical and tied all together. Meanwhile the butt ends are worked into this heavy stuff, which stabilises the hedge and makes it nice and dense and nice and wide and massive low down, so deer can't get through. Hopefully the height of the thing will stop deer going over. Badger, if he wants to go through, will go through, but he'll leave a little low hole that an adult deer can't get in. Other deadwood we'll leave as is, so we just chop that off, get it out of the way, but we'll leave it laying. And it lays all the way down here and finishes there, so we haven't disturbed that. Not as good for fungi as oak would be, but pretty good nonetheless. So that's what we've done so far. I'm going to do a bit more. And some of the sweet chestnut, which is stood and is standing dead and is nice and dry, is going home for my wood burner, because we're getting a little bit low on supplies, although we're doing alright, but I don't mind a cushion. Cushion's good. Righty right, let's do a bit more. 1st of March 2025, and Putin is still in Russia. I saw one of my first ever posts the other day, and actually I mentioned that. This is now 3 years on. I didn't think this posting would end up being such a big thing with me, but people seem to like it. Anyway, last night I watched 2 representatives of the most powerful nature on earth browbeat and bully the elected representative of a much smaller nation live on TV. And this marks, I think, a new low in international diplomacy, and does the most powerful nation in the world no good at all. But just like during the Cold War, because I'm old enough to have grown up during that era, all I can do is get on with doing what I'm doing, which brings us to the wood here. This is where we are now, and it's beautiful. First day of spring, and this is where we've got to. Dead hedge is a little bit thin there, but we've got plenty just here to thicken it up. We felled all this, and we've got easily over a ton of firewood over there. Also got over there a load of byproduct, because the firewood is my product. This is sun shoots. Some of those will be stakes, some of those will be broom handles, some of those will be handles for other things, and walking sticks, all sorts of different stuff. And firewood here, firewood there, firewood if we look into the sun up at the top. Dead hedge has gone all the way up here. There's several tons of material in that. If you do it bit by bit and move it as little as possible, it soon gets done. So today we're basically working in this corner, finishing the dead hedge, and then starting to fell everything downhill. And in between times, because the change is as good as the rest, we'll bring the mule in, because it's just outside the fence, and move some of that down to our cord. And this I think we'll do last, because that is a mess. And we can finish this and then leave it to get on with doing what it's doing, which is growing, because the bluebells are all up. On that bank the pig nut is up, and elsewhere in the wood we've got primroses. So yes, told me we're finished, so we'll knock all this over and basically retreat downhill, finish up in that area where we mashed about and done a little bit of foot damage anyway. Now here's me worrying about foot damage and wheelbarrow damage, bringing this out on the mule. Imagine the damage that would happen if you brought a tractor or other machinery into here, or even a machine harvester, and attempted to fell this hazel. But you wouldn't bring in a machine harvester just to do this little bit. You'd have to basically do all the rest of this area of woodland in order to try and make it economically viable. Which brings us to the question, is how much weight should economics be given to managing woodlands into the future? My standpoint is that biodiversity is an important part of woodlands, that and heritage. But this biodiversity and heritage appears to be lost in the calculations of people like the Forestry Commission, which is now Forestry England for England, and in the calculations of people who set policy. So it's after 10:30. I better get and do some work. 12, so that's an hour and a half, mostly felling. I've moved a bit of timber, so I moved that original pile from there. That's another addition to it. That's gone over on that pile, the bigger bits, and the smaller bits on that pile. And hopefully you can see a difference with the felling. Everything so far has come this way. Well, that one will probably go that way, but not quite yet, because it's hung up in the top, look. But a lot of these here will come this way, and you can see here we've beefed up the dead hedge, we've laid them all like that, and now we're doing that, so they lay over at less of an angle, and the butt ends interweave, and the whole thing locks together. This is where the base with all the big bits laid on the ground comes into its own, and more bits. This is as felled and snedded. I shan't be bothered to weave all those bits in, I'll just leave them as they are, because the dead hedge is high enough, it's nice and thick, and if there's a bit of overhang it makes it more difficult to jump over. There's a bit on the top there that I need to cut and take out the usable bit, and I need to go up there in that corner, finish this bit of dead hedge. There's only this little gap left. Take it right up the corner and then move along that way. So, progress. I hope you can see it. It's 2:30. Hope you can see a difference now. Dead edge along the top's coming on. Dead edge along this side, you can't see it, but it's very nearly there. Got this tree, there's two stalls there, one's behind, they'll all go over that way. These ones here will come over there. I'd need some more material for up in the corner, but there's only a few stems that are up that way, so we might have to drag stuff, which is a pain in the bum. And can you see the oopsie? It's a bit south of Darley, but you see the little orange saw up there. Beyond the orange saw, there's the last remaining stem. There was only one stem on that stall, and it was a big one, and it started off over there, and it was leaning that way. So the idea was to fell it over that way, but it's stuck up in the top, and it's really stuck. There's no way in hell that's coming down unless we get a gale of wind and it breaks off the branches it's hung from. So that's going to have to come down with this one all in a lump. Go into that corner and finish that corner off. So yeah, we're getting there. It's quite hard work, but I'll be nice and warm next winter, and I'm plenty warm now. And I saw my second butterfly. I was over here, and as I was moving some stuff downhill, this beautiful red admiral came along. He was all fresh and shining and lovely, like that peacock was that we saw, but I didn't have the camera, so I can't let you see him as well. So I guess it's the first day of spring, really. 4:15, 3 tanks of fuel, well, nearly 3 tanks, not quite. And yeah, there's stems over there, there's 4 stems all laying side by side, which I haven't snedded up or sectioned, just wanted to get them over. I was on a roll, so I went with it. So that leaves less than a dozen stalls still to do. Hopefully you can see a difference from this morning. We're kind of nearly there. At some point we'll work out how much firewood we've got.